Hi, good evening to everyone. And as we discussed yesterday, we had a very fruitful sessions by way of demo wherein I explain you Article 21 of the Constitutions of Part 3. And I also promised you that from tomorrow, which is from today onwards, I be taking you through the entire constitutions, part wise, article wise, and the schedules wise. So today I be explaining you the making of the Constitution of India because first we need to understand as to how did the Constitution of India come to picture. Why do we need to study the Constitution of India, and why is it called the Grundnorm? That it is called the supreme law of the nations of any country. So we will start the sessions, but first of all, I will take you first of all through this slide, which is in a way you may call it the motivational quote by 𝐼𝐨𝐸𝐽𝐝. Success is the sum of small efforts repeated. That means I often get to see students whenever they prepare for UPSC. They struggle by the time the sooner the exams comes. By the time exam comes, they feel that they haven't covered even the syllabus of the UPSC, and they they get puzzled actually. So what does the quote say? Success is a small sum of efforts repeated. That means the success will not come you overnight. You cannot expect it to come to you overnight. You need to work for it, and that too repeatedly. If you have studied one book once, do not expect that you can retain all the things. Whatever you have studied, you can retain it for a longer time. No, you cannot. You may retain it even 1%, 2% by referring to one book. What you will have to do, you will have to repeat the books. You will have to read the books. You will have to give the repeat revisions. You will have to revise the books. So instead of referring to 10 books, why don't you refer to one book 10 times? And this is not something which I am saying you or I'm asking you to do. It is very much available everywhere. It is also one of the famous quote of success that instead of referring to 10 books for one subject, why don't you refer one book 10 times? So everything has to be repeated so that you can retain things. You can retain the content, whatever you have studied for a longer time. So study, keep studying, study for every day, a small amount of time. You don't have to study for 12 hours or 13 hours. Whoever says that if you are into UPSC preparation, you should study for 20 hours or 15 hours, 16 hours, I don't believe in that. You study for 2 hours, 3 hours or 5 hours, but that has to be in continuations. You cannot break the chain. You have to maintain the chain. Once you start preparing, make sure that you study for 365 days. And that too every day. There shouldn't be any breaking. You should maintain the chain. Now moving forward, let's come to our discussions or topic, that is making of the constitutions. This is the topic today that I will be explaining you, the making of the Indian constitutions. And this is by me, of course, Chandan Kumar. Now, coming here, acts which were in some way instrumental for the development of the Indian constitutions. Now, whenever you start constructing something, what do you need to do? You need to collect some things. You need to call the architects to bring your building. Let's say if you have to construct a building at your home, what will you do? You cannot construct it yourself. You need to call the engineers to design the shapes, or whatever the shapes you are looking for. You will tell him, explain that you're looking for certain kind of buildings, or you're looking for certain designs. He will prepare the designs for you. So we'll call the engineers. You will have to have the raw materials to construct the buildings and the all other things. So it is a bundle of things that you need to have in order to construct any building. So these are the things that you will be referring to while when the Constitution of India was framed. These were the things that we will be referring to, but I cannot explain you these things in one day, because this is of course very wide topic. Regulating Act 7073, I need to lock it down. Just I'm not very user friendly with the digital books, so I must struggle a little bit. So avoid that. Rest you will not compromise with the content. Yes, Regulating Act 7073. Yes, you will be referring to this one, but we will cover it one by one. And then the Pitt's India Act, Charters Act 1833. Then again Charter Act 1853. Government of India Act 1858, of course, and then the Indian Councils Act 1861, Indian Councils Act 1892. And the Parliamentary Reform, of course, everyone knows about it, 1909, and the Montagu-Chelmsford Reform, 1919, and the Government of India Act 1935, which is also again a mini constitutions, because majority of the majority part of the Indian constitutions has been taken from this Government of India Act 1935. I will explain you very nicely. And then the Indian Independence Act 1947. So these are the things, these are the acts that we will be covering in order to understand as what were the backgrounds or what were the things which were looked into or which were taken into considerations or which actually shaped or gave a way for the creations or for formation of Constitutional Assembly to create the Constitution of India. So moving forward, we come to this one, the committee. As I said that whenever you have to construct a building, I gave you an example of constructing the building. What you need to do, you need to have the engineers and the raw materials. So in order to frame the Constitution of India, we needed to have a Constituent Assembly. And for that Constituent Assembly to frame the Constitution of India, everything was supposed to be taken into considerations that we had to refer. Since we did not have any previous constitutions other than Government of India Act 1935, that was not a constitution, that was the British Act, a Government of India Act 1935. So we had to refer to the constitution of different countries. We had to understand everything one by one. We had to understand as to what can be the fundamental rights, what can be the directive principles of state policies, what can be the center and state relations. So referring to different parts, and that too of different countries. So we constituted the committees. So these were the committees which were constituted. Then you have the list of committees. Actually, there were majorly 8 committees, and these are the committees that I have written. This is for your reference. I don't need to refer to these committees, but yes, if you are making note, you can jot it down. These were the important committees whose recommendations were taken into consideration. The most important being the drafting committee, which was headed by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. So these recommendations given by these committee, the 7 committees, was taken into consideration by Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, who was heading or who was chairman of the drafting committee. At the end of the slide, you will also have some the MCQ, the objective type questions, so that you can understand by referring to slides or by referring to questions whether you are able to answer those questions. Though I have kept the questions very simple, I will be making it, or I will be raising the level of difficulties day by day. But today the level of questions are very simple. Let's see whether you can answer or not. So these were the committees. You can jot it down. I have kept it here for you. Now moving forward, the drafting committee of the Constitution of India. Now again, the many times I have come across the questions being asked in the public service examinations that the drafting committee, how many members were there in the drafting committee? So you have the simple answer here, sir. You can count on your fingers that there were 7 members in drafting committee, which was headed by Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar. And you have the date here also. Just make sure that you remember the date also. Here, just remember this, that 29th of August 1947. It was set up on 29th of August 1947, and the committee was vested with the power, or you can say the main task, to draft the Constitution of India by taking into the account the proposal received from different committees. In the last slides and the previous slide, I explained you that there were 8 committees. So this drafting committee took considerations of all the recommendations or all the suggestions which was given by the last 7 committees, which I explained in the previous slide. So these are the members. The drafting committee has 7 members, and these are the members of the drafting committee, and the chairman was Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, of course. Moving forward, we come to discuss timeline in making the Constitution. This is again very crucial and very important. I would prefer if you can jot it down somewhere. You can make it make note of it, because maybe later on if you want to refer to the dates, because many times, not in UPSC but the state PCS examinations, they straight away ask you the facts. What was the date? When was the Constitution of India adopted? When was the national flag adopted? The national song adopted? When did the Constitution of India come into force? Or these are the factual questions that you need to remember. You have no other options. You cannot escape from it. So you will have to remember at any cost. So these are the important the important timelines. I have written 2 things: the important timelines and the key timelines. In the next slide, I will be explaining you the key timelines. You can see the key timelines, and here you have the important timelines. So just make a note of it. You can see that 1934, it starts with 1922, I would say. 1922 was the year when Gandhiji said that the political destiny of India should be determined by Indians, not by any foreign power. So year start with 1932. I think I should also write it here. I mention it here. That is 1922. So 1922 was the year when Gandhiji said that the political destiny of India should be determined by the Indians only and not by any foreign powers. So year 1922, it may be asked, just make a note of it. And then again, moving forward, we have 1934. 1934, again, many times we have questions that who was a constitutional or who was a constitutional advisor. So we have the option here, Dr. B.N. Rao was the advisor, but here the idea of constitution was suggested by M.N. Roy. M.N. Roy was the one who suggested the idea of the constitutions, but M.N. Roy had given the individual opinion, just the idea. It was not the official idea, because official idea was, again, this idea was made official when this was put forward by Indian National Congress in the year 1935. So the individual idea was suggested by M.N. Roy in the year 1934, and this was made official by the Indian National Congress, because who was presenting India? The Congress was presenting India in the year before 1930, actually 1947. By the time India got independence, who was the body, the constitution body? The Indian National Congress. So this idea of the M.N. Roy was officially represented by the Indian National Congress in the year 1935. Moving forward, in the year 1938, actually I missed out something here. You can add here in between. 1938. 1938 was the year when Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru said that the Constitution of India, the Constitution of Free India actually, should be framed by the Constituent Assembly without interference of any foreign powers. So this was the year when Jawaharlal Nehru advocated for the framing of the Constitution of India for Free India. And you can remember, this is 1938 is also popular because you may remember that the 𝐮𝐩𝐝 𝐸 was elected the President of Indian National Congress in Haripura session, and we will discuss about that later on. And then 1940, demand accepted by the British. This demand was accepted by 1939 comes the 𝐼𝐸𝐝 based on the adult franchise. He also advocated 𝐼𝐸𝐝. He also advocated that we should have a constituent assembly to frame the Constitution of India. And this demand was accepted by Britishers in the year 1940. But see how clever the Britishers were. What did they do? They followed the carrot approach. I think everyone knows what is carrot approach. I will be explaining you when I will teach you about the unification of India by Sardar Patel in comparison of unification of Germany by Bismarck. So when I will explain you about the unification of Germany in India, I will explain you what is characteristic approach. So it is a carrot approach. It's some sort of like giving you chocolate. When one child cries, he says that even you may have a child in your family. So once a child cries, what do? You give him chocolates and he stops crying. So this is what was the approach adopted by the Britishers in 1940. They applied or they followed the carrot approach. Why? There was a reason behind it. There was an objective behind it. They wanted to get the support of Indians in the Second World War. If you remember the era of Second World War, it began, I'm writing here, it began in 1939 and it continued till 1944. So Second World War began in 1939 and it continued till 1944. In the beginning, initially the Britishers were losing. So what they want? They wanted to get the support of Indians. And there comes, since from the beginning they followed the divide and rule policy. So this is what they did. Actually they showed carrot to the Indians and they got their support in the Second World War. Moving forward, this 1946 was the era. Again, before 1946, I would take you to the Cripps mission of 1940, I think 1940, yes, 1942. Again, you may write it here, 1942, I write it here for you, 1942. So 1942 was the year when the Cripps mission came to India. And that too, in order, considering this demand of the 1940, the demand of the Constituent Assembly by the Britishers. So the Cripps mission came to India in 1942, but this Cripps mission failed. It was rejected by the Muslim League. Why? Based on the two-nation theory of Jinnah. They wanted to have two separate constitutions for India, one for India and one for Pakistan. But Cripps mission did not have any such provisions, as they would allow two constitution assembly, one for India and one for Pakistan. So Cripps ideally failed actually. And then we have the 1946, that the cabinet mission plan, and it was in a way accepted both by Indian National Congress and the Muslim League. So the Constituent Assembly was framed on the basis of this cabinet mission plan of 1946, And then again, you can see here, you can jot it down, consisting of 389 members, out of which 290 were representative of the states and 93 from the princely states. When I say state, that means the British India, and the princely states were independent. And then August 1946, this was the, you may call it, the election was for the first time held, out of which the 280 seats were won by the Indian National Congress, and the 73 seats were won by the Muslim Leagues. And then 9 December, first meeting of the assembly were held, in which the interim president was nominated by the Constituent Assembly. And who was the interim president? We have here the Sachidanand Sinha. I think it should be somewhere. Let me see. Yes, Sachidanand Sinha, yes. Mr. Sinha, Sachidanand Sinha was elected as the interim president on 9th of December 1946. But 11th of December was again a meeting convened, and the Dr. Rajendra Prasad was made the permanent president of the Constitution Assembly. So here you have two objective questions. If the question comes, who was the interim or temporary president of the Indian Constituent Assembly? So you will have an option, and you will have to take the Sachidanand Sinha. But if they ask you, if they did not mention or do not mention anything about the interim or the temporary, then you will have to select the Dr. Rajendra Prasad, because Dr. Rajendra Prasad was the permanent president of the Constituent Assembly. 13th of December 1946 is the day when the objective resolution was moved by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. And this objective resolutions was unanimously adopted by the Indian National Congress, or by the Assembly on 22nd, I think it was 22nd, yes, 22nd Jan 1947. It was unanimously adopted. And 3rd June 1947, Lord Mountbatten announced the scrapping of the Cabinet Mission Plan 1946 that we spoke about that. From here, here we have seen, we have covered the Cabinet Mission Plan. So the on 3rd of June 1947, Lord Mountbatten announced to scrap the Cabinet Mission Plan on 1946. So in a way, this is what we have seen, that how did the Constituent Assembly proceed in order to frame the Constitution of India. Moving forward, the key timelines, this is most important. You will have to remember that these are the key timelines. Referring to year 1946, what did I explain? That the British decided to grant independence to India, and therefore the Cabinet Mission Plan was dispatched to India to discuss the process for transfer of power. Transfer of power by whom to whom? By Britishers to the Indians, right? So this was the Cabinet Mission Plan on the basis of which the Constituent Assembly of India was framed. And then the 14th August 1947, the proposal for creation of committee was tabled, and 29 August 1947, drafting committee was established. 6th of December 1947, the Constituent Assembly formally convened for the first time following elections to start the process of writing Constitution for India. And 4th November 1947, the draft bill was finalized, or you may call it submitted. And 1948 and 1949 is the year when the Constituent Assembly met in the sessions open to public discussions. Now it became discussions for the public. It was publicly available. And 29th November 1949, again you have a questions here, that when was the Constitution of India adopted? If you see the word adopted, then it was 26th of November 1949. And if the word is when did it come to force, then 26th of January 1950 it came to force, right? Otherwise, it was adopted on 26th of November 1949, and it came to force on 26th of January 1950. So these are the basics idea about the formation of the Constitution of India. But we move forward, and now everything has been discussed. We have seen that how did we proceed in order to frame the Constitution of India, starting with 1922, when the Gandhi said that the political destiny of India should be determined by the Indians. From there we started, we traveled all the ways. We also see the Pitt's India Act and all those acts, Parliamentary Reform, Montagu-Chelmsford Reform, Government of India in 1935, and the Indian Independence Act 1947. So those were the things, actually they created the background. They were shaping the background in the formation of Constitution of India, and we will cover them one by one. Here you have the originally, when the Constitution of India came to force, originally you had this look. What was the look? The Constitution contained 395 articles, 22 parts and the 8 schedules. These were the original constitution, original frame. This is a shape of the constitution, or you may call this was the shape of the constitutions. Now later on the amendment was introduced in the Constitution of India. Everything remains same. It is what happened, the 22 parts and 12 schedules, the 8 schedules, later on the four schedules were added, and the 8th schedule became the 12 schedules. So we have the 12 schedules now, and originally at present we have how many? 448 articles, 25 parts and 12 schedules. Now here I will explain you in a way so that you can remember here that for this 8th schedule, how did this 8th schedule become 12 schedules? So the 9th schedule was inserted. I think let me change the color here. Alright, so the 9th schedule, this is the 9th schedule, 9th one. The 9th schedule was added by first Constitutional Amendment Act. Which one? The first Constitutional Amendment Act. First Amendment. And this is Constitutional Amendment Act, remember, 1951. And then the 10th schedule. 10th schedule was inserted by 52nd Constitutional Amendment Act. This is 52nd year, 1985. And then the 11th schedule, remember this, 11th one. This was inserted by 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, 73rd. And this was year 1992. And then we have the 12th schedule, 12th one here. 12th schedule was inserted by, yes, it was inserted by, I have written here 11th schedule, 73rd, yes. This was 74th actually, 74th, and the year 1992. I hope I did not make any mistake. Yes, 9th schedule was inserted by first Constitutional Amendment Act 1951. 10th schedule was inserted by 52nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1985. 11th schedule was inserted by 73rd Constitutional Amendment 1992, and the 12th schedule was inserted by 74th Constitutional Amendment Act 1992. So see, initially there were only 8 schedules, but now we have 12 schedules. And how did these 12 schedules come to picture? By inserting or by way of amendments, and these are the amendments that we have already covered. Alright, I think everything is clear till now. Let's move forward. Now, since everything has, whatever topic you study, every topic will have some criticism. You will have to write actually criticism to fetch good marks, otherwise you will not fetch good marks. Writing everything good, that's okay. You have to write, you have to explain the positive side, but you also have to explain the negative sides of it, of any topic you are writing in mains examinations, especially mains examinations. So these are some of the criticism which is adjacent to the Constitution Assembly. The one is the Constitution Assembly. The Constituent Assembly was time consuming. Why do I say it was time consuming? And efforts which caused delay to the independence, because it took 2 years, 11 months and 18 days to frame the Constitution of India. Wasn't it time consuming? It wasn't it. Yes, it was time consuming. Now again, the second one, the Constituent Assembly was neither a representative body, nor a sovereign one. Why do I say that it was not a representative body? Because all the members of the Constituent Assembly was not represented or not elected by the people of India. They were not. And why do I say that it was not a sovereign body? Because it was framed on the basis of the Mountbatten Plan, Cabinet Mission Plan 1946. So it was not actually sovereign body, because it was on the basis of the Britishers' Cabinet Mission Plan of 1946. Now coming to this one, the Constitution Assembly was dominated by members of the Congress Party. Yes, there is no doubt in it, because a majority of members, even in the elections, we saw that only 73 seats were won by the Muslim League in the elections. So yes, it was dominated by the Indian National Congress. And the fourth one is that the Constituent Assembly was a Hindu-dominated body. Yes, it was a Hindu-dominated body. That is why the Muslim had this feeling of inferiority. They thought that since they are the less in number, so they should have a separate country and they demanded Pakistan. There was a different, there's a story behind it, starting from Rahmat Ali Khan and the Jinnah and all. We will explain that in a different slide, in a different class. Moving forward here. Now, I have a second quote. I think, again, since we have already been studying for a long time, I think we have spent a good 20 minutes almost. So success does not just find you. You have to go out and get it. What is required? Will success come to you? No, I don't think so. Success will not come to you. You will have to go to it. You will have to get it. This success is not in the requirement of getting you. You are in the requirement of getting the success. You need to get it. The success does not need you. You need the success. So you will have to go to it. How will you go to it? By devoting or by making proper strategies. By devoting proper time, by making proper strategies, and by referring to what is being taught in the class and following the instructions. If you avoid, maybe sometimes even I have gone through this struggling life. I have experienced a student's life. I have seen that many times we were sitting in the class and we did not concentrate. And when we were writing the examinations, the same questions came in. Whatever was taught in the class, the same question came in. And yes, I could recall, yes, this was explained in the class. The topic was explained in the class, but we did not concentrate on that. So you need to be attentive. You need to focus on the topic or whatever the content is being taught in the class. Just make sure that you are up to it. Moving forward, since we have acquired a brief understanding as to what were the procedure as, how did the Constitution of India come to picture, I think we should cover some of the MCQs. Let's have an idea as what kind of MCQ can be expected in the PCS examinations. These are not the level of MCQ in UPSC examinations. Sometimes they have, yes, the easiest questions, but these are the level of the PCS examinations. So the first question is, who was chairman of the drafting committee of the Constitution? Very simple question. Everyone can give the answer. Yes, I know. So yes, the answer is, of course, without any doubt, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was the chairman of the Constitution drafting committee. And then the second one is, the Constitution of India was adopted on. Now again, you need to take precautions because many times you know the answer but you make mistakes, and the UPSC prepares questions in such a way that you tend to make mistakes. So bound to make mistakes, you will do that. So number one is that it is asking adopted. It is not asking as when did it come to force. No, it is not asking. It is asking the Constitution of India was adopted on, and it was adopted on 26th of November 1949. So option A is correct answer. Let's move forward. The third question is, who presided over the Union Powers Committee? I showed you the committee. There were the 8 committees. If you remember the names, you can easily give the answer. If you have jotted down, or even if you have referred this slide attentively, you can give the answer. So who presided over the Union Power Committee? We have the 4 options here, but the correct option is Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. That is option A. Alright. Now the fourth question is, who was the constitutional advisor? I mentioned that while I was explaining you the committees. I explained you that who was the constitutional advisor? It was Sir B.N. Rao. So option D is correct. And who gave the idea of the Constitution Assembly or Constituent Assembly? M.N. Roy. So do not get confused here. So the idea of the Constituent Assembly was given by M.N. Roy, but the question is asking who was the constitutional advisor. So Sir B.N. Rao. And now the last question of the session is, the Advisory Committee on Fundamental Rights, Minorities and Tribal Affairs had how many subcommittees? So there you have the options here: 2 subcommittees, 3 subcommittees, 4 subcommittees, and 5 subcommittees. Would you like to give the answer? Okay, since I've already given the answers of all last 4 questions. So it is actually the 5 subcommittees. So option D is right. Alright, so thank you. This was all about the making of the Constitution of India, and I will make sure that, I will make you cover, I will make you read or remember Constitution in such a easiest way that you can retain it throughout your life. you will not forget it. I will teach you in that way. What you need to do, you need to make sure that you need to attend the class regularly. You need to be attentive in the class. That's all. Keep a copy and not keep a copy or pen handy whenever something is being taught in the class, and start jotting down the points. Whatever you think that the purposeful or needful, you can jot it down. Otherwise, that's okay. Rest you can concentrate in the class, you can listen to me, that's okay. That will suffice. That's all. And if you like the video, please do like, share and subscribe the channel. Thank you once again. Stay blessed. Bye bye. Take care.